This man is named Tony, an Italian-American living in New York. He comes from an ordinary family and worked as a bouncer in a nightclub to make a living. He seems a bit careless, with the straightforwardness and recklessness characteristic of people from the lower classes. He is used to solving problems with his fists and also had the prejudice prevalent in society at that time towards black people. The other man, Don Shirley, is a black pianist. He possesses extremely high musical talent, is well-educated, and behaves elegantly, exuding a noble aura all over. However, in the United States in the 1960s, racial discrimination was rampant. Even though he was brilliant, in a society dominated by whites, he still suffered from discrimination and injustice. In 1962, Don decided to go on a tour in the southern United States where racial discrimination was severe. To ensure the safety of the journey, he needed a driver and bodyguard who could handle various situations, and Tony got the job. Before departure, Tony received a special book, the Green Book, which detailed the hotels, restaurants, and other places where blacks could enter and exit safely in the South. In that discriminatory era, it was a lifesaver for blacks when they traveled. Thus their journey began. Along the way, the two people's completely different personalities and backgrounds sparked a lot of frictions. Tony was careless while Don was particular. Tony was used to eating fast food while Don was only interested in delicate cuisine. During one meal, Tony casually picked up fried chicken and started biting into it, and enthusiastically invited Don to join. Don refused in disgust, but after Tony's repeated persuasion, he took a bite and unexpectedly found it delicious. The two of them ate the fried chicken and laughed together. At this moment, the differences in class and race seemed to be melting away slowly. But more often than not, they faced difficult situations brought about by racial discrimination. In a small town, when Don wanted to use the toilet reserved for whites, he was ruthlessly refused and could only use the crude black toilet outdoors, at the performance venue. Although Don was the star of the night, he was prohibited from entering the white restaurant and could only eat simple food in the storage room. These unfair treatments made Tony very angry, and he began to defend Don. And Don had been enduring it silently. He understood that this was the prejudice of the whole society against blacks and couldn't be changed overnight. During one performance trip, the car suddenly broke down, and Tony got out to repair it. Don saw his black compatriots working in the fields by the roadside. They were dressed shabbily, and their faces, tanned dark by the scorching sun, were full of exhaustion. Don, dressed in gorgeous performance costumes, formed a sharp contrast with them. At this moment, he felt that there was also a deep gap between him and his black compatriots. He couldn't fully integrate into the white world, and in the eyes of his black compatriots, he seemed out of place because he was too whitewashed, and this sense of loneliness deeply hurt him. As the journey progressed, the relationship between Tony and Don changed quietly. Tony saw Don's outstanding talent in music and his forbearance and strength in the face of discrimination, and his prejudice against Don gradually disappeared. Don also saw sincerity and kindness in Tony. Tony's casual and free lifestyle made him feel another kind of attitude towards life. Don began to help Tony write letters to his wife. He used elegant words to express Tony's straightforward emotions more delicately. These letters became the bond for Tony to maintain his relationship with his wife and also witnessed the warming of their friendship. During one performance, Don's superb playing won the applause and cheers of the entire white audience. At that moment, music seemed to transcend racial boundaries, making people forget the differences in skin color and immerse themselves in the charm of art. But after the performance, Don had to return to reality and continue to face those discriminations and injustices. Finally, after being unjustly arrested by the police once, Don's long-suppressed emotions exploded completely. He cried to Tony about his loneliness and helplessness. He had wealth and talent, but never got real respect. He was neither white enough nor black enough, as if he was stuck in a lonely crack. Tony hugged Don tightly to comfort him. At this time, they were no longer employer and employee but true friends. The journey was coming to an end. On Christmas Eve, they encountered a snowstorm on their way back. The car was struggling to move through the snow when a police patrol car passed by. This time the police didn't make things difficult for them but escorted them for a while, as if symbolizing that their arduous journey was about to have a warm ending. Finally, they made it home before Christmas. Tony reunited with his family, and Don was no longer alone. He was invited to Tony's home to celebrate the festival with them.